So we are at COP28 and we have with us Krishna Nallamilli from Aditya Education's institution from India. And Krishna, I know you have a wealth of experience and lot of interesting points which you already covered in our session in the Greening Education Pavilion. But I want to ask you that what is the role of educational institutes in engaging communities?
Thank you, Amruta. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I personally believe that education institutions, particularly in the developing countries like India, should play a more active role than what they are playing right now. A lot of governments are coming with policies and regulations and frameworks for helping the kids understand the value of sustainability or environmental impact and how would that affect the future. But what it is exactly happening is it's not drilling down to the school level, because at an educational institutional level there are basically three pillars. One is the management, one is the student community, and one is the parent community. And all these three communities need to come together to actually implement something. And this has been done wonderfully in your normal academic topics, like we have a major innovations in learning, like STEM education, technology driven education. But where I think we personally lack is the sustainability education.
Correct.
How do we actually make sustainability education not merely a paper that the students have to write, or not merely a subject that students have to pass, but make it more of a lifestyle, so that the lifestyle actually gets inculcated into the everyday process of the students and also the parents and also the community around that school, so that that becomes a lifestyle which would actually help achieving these goals set by these wonderful policies of the governments, or even in events like COP28, where we are talking about reducing wastage, we are talking about saving water, we are talking about climate change. I think these things should be much more drilled down into granular concepts which can be understood by these kids, and which could be, the kids can actually explain it back to the parents and to the community that they're living together, so that they can actually do impact at a minute level, but at an exponential accumulation of all these students together, that impact would be much more.
True. So, igniting that flame in children's mind, and they take it home and inspire their parents to make the lifestyle changes and bring the impacts to the overall environment and society.
Absolutely.
Amazing insights here. Now I would like to know more about what are the environmental impacts education system or education institutes could actually influence and bring, which are measurable, and you talked about that a lot, that how do we actually measure it, but what are your insights? I
think I'll start with a very simple example. There is actually a report a couple of years back that at an average, an Indian person produces about 0.8 kilograms of waste per day, both recyclable and non-recyclable. So if you look at our education group itself, which has about 70,000 students, you're talking close to about 7 metric tons of wastage on a regular basis, right? So if we can actually measure that at a granular level and explain the students that you're responsible for this 1 kilogram of wastage, because students, at a very basic level, they spend about 75% of their daily time inside the school more than their homes, right? So in a way, the education institution is where most of this wastage is also being produced. So if we can incorporate a couple of items like telling students that, hey, we have saved 10 pages of paper today, by reutilizing the wastage of paper that we have, or we have moved to a recycled paper instead of using the virgin pulp for paper. If we can make them understand the value of these numbers of what they are saving, I think students by default they have this wonderful brain to accept new things. And as soon as they start accepting this, it becomes a lifestyle, like I said before, which would actually help them go back and say proudly to their mama and papa that, Dad, I have saved X amount of wastage from going into the landfill, or I have saved X liters of water today, or I contributed to the green revolution by basically planting a tree or watering a tree. These are very minute things, but these minute things are what activities, physical activities, where the students get their hands dirty in doing those activities. They get engaged in doing those activities, and these activities would actually help them understand the value of what is green meaning and what is sustainability meaning. Maybe they don't understand the overall concept of sustainability, but they will understand the value of doing these activities and how it is impacting the environment.
That's so beautiful. What you mentioned here is basically how do we inspire the groundwork? Because too much of talk, too much of discussions and exams and paper writing, but how do we do the groundwork? And this is exactly what you covered through your insights. I actually would love to know this particular angle. I remember talking to you, discussing with you a few days back, is how your institution, which is surrounded by farming land and most of the farmers in the community, how you brought that connection with the farmers and how your students learned the organic farming or additional thing you wanted to cover, which I'm not really expert into, but yeah, I would love you to tell us.
Yeah, so one of the key initiatives that we are doing right now, it's still at a very early stage, we want to implement it at a bigger scale, is what we have observed is we encourage students with the latest technology available at their hand to basically present, do presentations, do PowerPoints, to give talks about what they have learned. Like for example, India has launched Chandrayaan-3, which became the first satellite to land on the south pole of the moon. And every school basically celebrated that day as a national day, and they kind of encourage students to present topics on it. So we got the inspiration from that, and we decided, since we live in a community of farmers around us, why don't we do something for them? So now we are encouraging students to actually do presentations or talks about why farming should be sustainable, how organic farming can be helpful, how to use less number of pesticides, what are the things that can be monitored. So, and we are inviting farmers from different communities to actually come to the school as guests, so that they can sit down, listen to the students, listen to these wonderful kids explaining them. Because if I can get a scientist to talk about that, it would be too complicated, or it might be too scientific for those farmers to understand. But if I can get a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old student to explain it, he would explain it in such simple terms that farmers might be able to kind of understand what exactly is doing. And if farmers can even implement 1% of it, we believe that at least the community that is living around our school basically gets benefited from it, where we can say that we are part of the community building, we are part of the green revolution, at least in our community. But like I said, it's still at an early stage. We are trying our level best. We are trying to encourage the parents to be part of it. And one of the greatest examples is when we started this program, actually we started this in a different way, where we said every student in our school, when his birthday, we asked the parents to come to our school and basically ask them to plant a tree. Instead of bringing chocolates or coffees or toffees, we asked them to come and basically plant a tree. And every month we try to send them a picture of the tree that is being planted by their own son or daughter, to see how it is happening. And a couple of weeks back, it so happened that one of the parent was also a dear friend of mine. He called me out of the blue and he said, "Hey, I've just received the picture, but I think what you guys are doing is wrong." And I said, "What is that I'm doing wrong?" He said, "I've been gardening." So he's been gardening all his life. So he said, "Let me come to the school." So he came to the school, he sat with our gardeners, and he basically explained them very simple tricks on how to basically have a better chance of making that tree grow more organically.
Wow.
Right? And this we didn't expect from the parents community at all. We didn't invite them, we didn't tell them that we need your help, but they started coming. So now we are thinking that maybe, hey, we have doctors in our school as parents, we have engineers, we have business people, we have leaders, we have employees. So why don't we invite them to actually help them grow the community that we are building around the school into a much more sustainable one.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you, Krishna.
My pleasure.
For coming all the way from India and speaking at our event. Basically unleashing all your wealth of knowledge, years of experience, and our audience also enjoyed your insights and sharing that again here. So thank you again.
Wonderful, my pleasure. And so it's been a wonderful experience coming to COP, and especially thank you for inviting me to your tribe and making me a part of the tribe, so I can also understand. I've learned a great deal from the wonderful panel speakers that were present, and hope this learning will continue, and I will be able to go back and implement some of the learnings that I've got from these wonderful speakers into my education system, so we can create a more better sustainable future going forward for the kids.
Amazing, definitely. Great. Looking forward to doing more work with you.
Great. Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Thank you, my pleasure.